Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And be sure to leave your comment. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. Saints Sunday beat Atlanta 21-16. So the second time in 3 weeks that the Saints have beaten Atlanta. You, of course, know now they've won 9 consecutive games, including 3 without Drew Brees. And this one came on the road against your rival, who you played 2 weeks ago, and without Marcus Davenport, Janoris Jenkins, Teron Armstead, Deontay Harris, and then during the game, Patrick Robinson gets injured. Like, you went into this game against Atlanta extremely shorthanded and still found a way to get out of there with a win. And I'll say it again, I say it every time that the Saints win a game. Winning in the NFL is hard, and however you do it, you celebrate it because they should never be taken for granted. Anybody who is a lifelong Saints fan understands and appreciates this last 15-year run that New Orleans has been on, because we all saw for so many years just how hard it is to win and win consistently in this league. And winning a game, however it may look, I will never take for granted when it comes to New Orleans. And I'll be very, very candid with you. Not that I ever lie to you, but when Saints were playing the Panthers, and of course in that game, Carolina is not a great team this year. They've been close, better than I thought they'd be. But when Carolina had a kick at the end of that game to potentially send it to overtime, of course, Saints came up with a huge sack late to push him back and ultimately out of field goal range. During that game, I thought it's over. This run that the Saints have been on, the Peyton Brees era, is over. Because what I know about New Orleans is they're not going to... Sean Payton can scheme offensively in any game against any team with anybody as his quarterback to move the football. Do you remember the first game Drew Brees missed when he had the shoulder injury and McCown started against Carolina and he completed something like 27 of 29 passes? Do you remember that? It was something absurd. They lost the game ultimately, but like, Sean Payton is a Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest offensive minds the NFL has ever seen. He can scheme against any team with a week to prepare to move the football. But what I know is the Saints aren't winning a Super Bowl without their defense playing at an elite level. In the past few years, going back to 2017, we've seen this defense start slow and then catch fire after a couple of weeks. When you got into week 4 and 5, 6, and you were still seeing a defense that wasn't progressing, it looked like, man, the decision to bring back Malcolm Jenkins wasn't a great one. It was like, you just can't get Davenport on the field. You're missing something there on the interior. It's just, they were still giving up too many plays. Of course, Marcus Williams wasn't playing great early this year. Really, Saints safety play early was not good. And so I looked at it and I said, it's over. I mean, it's just, because unless if this defense can be elite, they can't win a championship. And this season, as every player has said, Cam Jordan in his postgame, I mean, he's basically saying the same thing. How many wins? Yeah. Talk to me when we won a Super Bowl, right? I mean, when that's the goal, that has to be the critical lens through which you look. And they weren't there early. But after that game, and obviously starting with Tampa, going down to Tampa on Sunday Night Football, and really before that with San Francisco, to go 14 consecutive quarters without allowing a touchdown in this NFL, an NFL which caters to offense, is stunning. The Saints are the best defense in the NFL today. When you're talking about allowing about 9 points a game during that stretch, it's almost absurd to say it out loud. But that's where they are. You've now gone 55 consecutive games without allowing a 100-yard rusher, 14 quarters without allowing a touchdown until Atlanta finally scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter on Sunday. I mean, this defense is the story. I understand why we're talking a lot about Taysom Hill, because it's always interesting when you've had such consistency at that spot for so many years as the Saints have with Drew Brees, and now it's somebody else, and that somebody else is such a polarizing player because of his style and the possibility of him being the next guy. That's obviously become a much bigger story, and I understand that, and we'll talk about that because it warrants discussion, but that's a different conversation. Like, evaluating Taysom for a long-term potential is a different conversation than, like, the game itself. Because right now, the objective is keep playing amazing defense, which they are. As much maligned as Marcus Williams has been, he was amazing yesterday. How about on the deep ball to Calvin Ridley, where he came in late after Lattimore had been beaten? And my goodness, Williams puts the shot on him to dislodge the football. How many times, as really the last line of defense, did Marcus Williams come up big yesterday? You know, the Saints had 3 sacks, a far cry from the 8 they had in the Dome 2 weeks ago, the 17 they've had combined in the last 2 games against Atlanta. But every level of the defense came up big. Demario Davis, again, your leading tackler. You saw, again, Quan Alexander, both in coverage and in run defense, almost came away with a pick yesterday, diving in front of a pass. Every level of this defense right now is playing elite. And David Onyemata got a sack yesterday, tackle for a loss. And you got Sheldon Rankins back. So much to like. It was great to see Michael Thomas yesterday. Of course, became the fastest in NFL history to 500 receptions. And everyone else who had done it, it took at least 80 games. Thomas did it in fewer than 70. And imagine if he didn't miss the chunk of this season that he did because of the ankle injury. He got there even quicker. Remarkable. But when I look at what Thomas has done with Taysom Hill, the first game against Atlanta, 9 for 104. Against Denver, 4 for 50. And then yesterday, 9 for 105. Michael Thomas is the great security blanket that whoever replaces Drew Brees will have. I mean, yesterday, I think the best ball Taysom Hill threw yesterday was on the 3rd and 17 on the right sideline when Thomas ran the out route at the sticks and got 18 yards. Taysom put it on the sideline where Thomas was going to get it or no one, and Thomas made an amazing contested catch. Time and again, he moves the sticks. He's just incredible. He is an unguardable force in this league, and there's not many guys you can say that about. Defense was awesome. Saints ran for 200 yards again in this ball game. Specifically with Taysom, there's 2 different conversations, and I alluded to it. One is he's the backup quarterback finding ways to win while Drew Brees is out. The second component, again, you look through with a little more of a closer microscope and a more critical lens, which is evaluating him as the possible future of the franchise. There's so much good, obviously, whenever Taysom Hill has the type of day that he did yesterday. And when you look statistically at a starting quarterback in the NFL, and the final stat line is 27 of 37 for 232, 2 scores and no picks, and you applaud that. You can win with that in the NFL, especially when your defense plays as well as it did. There was so much good. I alluded to the 3rd and 17. Taysom Hill's ability to run the ball. Obviously, his 43-yard run, the longest of his career on the Saints' first scoring drive, that set up that scoring drive. He threw his first and second career touchdown passes. The one to Tre'Quan Smith was obviously wide open, his first one. I thought Taysom Hill has really good command of the offense, and you could tell they're playing for him. The best drive that they've had so far with Taysom Hill was the final scoring drive, the 12-play, 75-yarder that ate up 5:59 off the clock. It was basically featuring Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. Hill ran the ball twice on that possession as well. You got the ball to your superstars. You had balance of run-pass, and you had power and precision. It was a perfect drive, and that's really exciting to think if you can replicate that moving forward. You have to point out also the bad. Like if you're looking long-term, right? Saints' first offensive possession, they set up a running back screen in the right flat. Taysom Hill threw the ball short. You got to connect on that pass. The play where they had the roughing the passer for being hit low, that's an ill-fated, that's a bad decision to let go of that football. He got bailed out because he got hit late, but that was nearly intercepted on a deep ball. While the Saints were driving on their first scoring possession, he threw a ball, or the second one, he threw a ball over the middle that should have been intercepted by A.J. Terrell at the end zone that Terrell dropped. It's back-to-back weeks now where Taysom's thrown what should have been interceptions that were dropped. Have to talk about the fumbles. Taysom Hill had fumbles 8 and 9 on the season yesterday. Of course, the first fumble, trying to make something out of nothing, take the sack, kick the field goal, you got an 8-point lead. Said he fumbles, the Falcons score, and that's what ignited them. Then at the end of the game, of course, in the next drive, he fumbles again, but it goes out of bounds. He got lucky. Ball security is a thing. Sean Payton has stressed it. For a part-time player to have fumbled 9 times on the season is completely unacceptable. I mean, Mark Ingram basically lost his job at one point in his career because of his inability to hang on to the football. I'll also say with respect to Taysom, Sean Payton's got to be willing to allow Taysom Hill to run the football. You know, we get consumed with the stat line and we forget the Saints only scored 21 points in this ballgame. Now, the defense is playing fantastic, so it's enough to win, but they were bogged down for a chunk of this game offensively. And after they scored their first touchdown, Sean has, and he even acknowledged it after the first Atlanta game, he wants to prove Taysom Hill can be a pocket passer. And so he's not running Taysom as much. And the Saints went on that stretch where they got bogged down, and I even tweeted it. At that point in the game, they had thrown the ball 20 times and run it 10. They were off schedule. They had twice as many passes as they did runs. You've got to be willing to run Taysom Hill because that is his cheat code. Like, that's the thing that differentiates him. If you're not willing to run him and make a defense respect it, then you're intentionally punting on one of the strongest weapons that you have on the team. You're neutralizing one of your greatest weapons. Then on that drive, a 7-play drive, 4 rushes, 3 passes, 2 of the runs were Taysom Hill, and it opened up and they went down and scored. If they're willing to run Taysom Hill, he can be so much more effective in the passing game because it opens things up. So the most important thing, obviously, is, and not worrying about what may happen in the future, is winning a Super Bowl this year. And winning a Super Bowl this year means, hopefully, securing the number 1 seed, getting Drew Brees back healthy, and having the defense continuing to play at an elite level so the path to Tampa in the Super Bowl goes through the Superdome and you get a bye. What you need for that is for your backup quarterback to keep the train on the tracks in the same way that Teddy Bridgewater did a year ago. Taysom's doing it now, and they've won 3 in a row without Drew Brees. And the possibility you could get Brees back this week or possibly in a couple of weeks against Kansas City. Lot to like about where the Saints team is right now. I think they are the best team in the NFL. I think they should be right now the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl. I'm excited to see how the rest of this thing plays out. But a 3rd consecutive win with Taysom, 9 consecutive wins for the Saints, and for the 4th consecutive year, they've punched their ticket to the playoff, something that is no small feat, especially for any long-standing Saints fan who understands. I mean, it took this team more than 2 decades to make its first playoff appearance. I mean, it took more than 3 decades to get its first playoff win. They're special, all of them. They should be celebrated. Good win for the Saints over the Falcons to move to 10-2, to clinch a playoff berth, and move one step closer to the division, hopefully the 1 seed. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.